Good morning, day 2. As you can see, it is very foggy. It's also very windy. Temperature is not bad, it's about 50. I am boiling water for coffee and oatmeal. It is about 7 o'clock. I've been up since, well, let's not say how long I've been up. I've been awake. I've been up since about 6:45. So I will check in later. So I was just looking at the map on Far Out, and one interesting thing I noted is that the profile elevation screen shows feet, and the topo overlay, at least the one I'm using, shows meters, and so there's no correlation there. Maybe I need to download a different topo or a different map layer, but for now I'm stuck with that. The next few miles will be a 1,000-foot climb and then descend to the Hawk Mountain shelter area, and then like 3 or 4 PUDs, pointless up and downs, Cooper Gap, Horse Gap, and Hightower Gap, not in that order, I think in reverse. Hightower, Horse, Cooper, and then Justice Creek is the one after that. So 1 big mountain to climb and 3 medium mountains with really, really steep descents. So we'll see how my knees do. Just went over the top of whatever mountain that was back there. For the last hour, no, for the last 30 to 40 minutes or so, it's been like really dark and creepy. It feels like it's about to rain. Right at the top of the mountain a few minutes ago, there was a slight drizzle, so I'm gonna have to put my pack cover on so that I won't have to do that if it really starts raining. But it's a cold breeze blowing, and the cloud cover is really dark right now, and it's 10 minutes after noon. Right at noon, a soldier in full, not combat gear, but in full pack and carrying a map, jogged by, going downhill in the other direction. He was probably carrying significantly heavier load than me. Well, about 45 minutes away from my next break, which should be the 8-mile mark on the day. Probably around Hawk Mountain Shelter. There's a Hawk Mountain campsite that's ahead of it, but it's way down off to the side on a side trail. I'm shooting for the shelter for this lunch break, unless it's way off the trail too, but I think it's pretty close to the trail. Well, the woods were making all kinds of noises. There you go. I'm at Horse Gap, which is the bottom of one of the ups and downs of this stretch. I've got 3.5 miles to go to Devil's Kitchen. It's been intermittently raining, but it's never really gotten heavy. It's gotten a little heavier than a light drizzle or a sprinkle or a whatever. But it's 50, just looked, I can't remember, somewhere in the 50s. Hey, I'm pretty exhausted. I did a 14.4 miles today. My intention was not to do a big mile day, and that's a big mile day for me these days, this early in the hike, but all I did was tack on the 2.6 miles that I shortened from yesterday. So it was going to be like an 11 point something, and now it's a 14 point something. This campsite, Devil's Kitchen, is, I've hiked through here at least 3 times, and every time when this was my destination, I found it within me to push on the 1.7 miles to Gooch Mountain Shelter, because this is like a miserable, creepy, depressing hole of a campground. It's a deep ravine with a nice creek running through it, but this campsite is carved into the side of the opposite side of the ravine, and I've never been here when it's not boggy and buggy and brambly and gross, be it the heat of the summer or a cool early spring rain. But I was able to find 2 trees that work adequately for my hammock, and I did not feel like walking another 45 minutes, which would have put me there just minutes before sunset. So here I am, minutes before sunset, but I'm all set up in my hammock and I'm about to start dinner. But the big final push, like the last 3 or 4 miles, were just like head down, no brakes. Get there, because I was thinking I might have to end up going all the way to Gooch. So I didn't want to dally. Also, one of the things I don't like doing and had intended to not do on this hike, which is chase miles, chase sunlight, do long days with not enough breaks, things like that. So here I am on the 2nd day and I've already done it. But that means my next 2 days are really short, like under 10. Usually, I'll have to look at that. It should be like an 8 and a 9. One of them was over Blood Mountain, but we'll see that when we get there. And the weather should get better tomorrow. I can afford to sleep in and wait for the rain to pass. So I'll have to look at my weather report and see what that is going to entail. Anyway, I will sign off for the night.